Welcome to Battle Grid Trading Card Game Tutorial. My name is Kenneth and I am the creator of Battle Grid Trading Cards. And today we're going to go over how to play Battle Grid Trading Card Game. First of all, I would like to say thank you for purchasing our Alpha Kit. Our Alpha Kit is on sale at battletcg.com. If you have not purchased, it comes with two playable decks, with one being the Enlightened faction and one being the Majestic faction. I have both decks here with me today and we're going to learn how to play using these decks. First, I would like to go through the basics of Battle Grid Trading Card Game. Each player assembles a 40-card deck, and each 40-card deck must contain certain limits based off of rarity. I'm going to put them up here on the screen now. There are 5 basic rarities of Battle Grid Trading Card Game. One is the common, designated in white, and is limited to 4 cards of the same name per deck. Next is the uncommon, designated in green, and they are limited to 3 cards of any card with the same name in the same deck. Following the same cadence is the epic rare, which is designated in yellow, and they are limited to 2 with the same name per deck. And then legendary. Legendary rares are unique and powerful cards that are limited to 1 card with the same name per deck. And then finally is the divine rare. The divine rare is limited to 1 divine rare in a whole single deck. So, using these limits, you can create a deck, and you must declare a specific faction. Currently, there are 4 factions in Battle Grid Trading Card Game, and our Alpha Kit includes 2 decks, the Enlightened and the Majestic. Our Beta Kit will soon include the other 2 factions, which is Primitive and Black Shard. More information to come more information will come on battlegridtradingcardgames.com. Now that we've assembled our 2 decks, or if you purchased our Alpha Kit, we can now continue to play the game. There are 2 basic ways of playing Battle Grid Trading Card Game. One is playing the Core mode. Core is based off of 1 single champion that is pre-selected, and your deck often revolves around that one's pre-selected champion. The other is Mastery gameplay, and Mastery is based off a random champion that you get from your starting hand. In most competitive scenarios, we'll see a combination of both core and mastery gameplay, but today we're going to select the mastery gameplay. Keep in mind, mastery gameplay involves very strategic deck building skills, as your deck must be good and compatible with random champions that may occur throughout the game. Today I'm going to be playing the Enlightened deck, and I'm going to also be playing myself using the Majestic deck in blue. Let's go ahead and draw 7 cards. In Mastery gameplay, you start the game by drawing 7 cards. Again, Enlightened is in pink, Majestic will be in blue. Also, determine which player is going to go first. The player that goes first plays their champion first, also does not draw during that initial draw phase. You can determine who goes first by flipping a coin or rolling a single set of dice. In this case, Enlightened will go first. You can see in my starting hand I have some very powerful cards. In fact, I have 4 different card types in my starting hand. Let's go over the 4 different card types in Battle Grid Trading Card Game. There are heroes. Heroes are very powerful cards in the game that also have champion abilities. Only heroes can be designated as a champion. Next are relics. Relics persist on the battle grid and give you further bonus and different abilities to help gain the advantage on the battle grid. Next are minions. Minions persist on the battle grid, but can also come back from your frozen. Your frozen is another name for your discard pile. Once per turn, you can play a minion from your discard pile or from your hand. And then spells. Spells do not persist on the battle grid, but come in with a cool and powerful effect and then leave the gameplay. We'll go over more of each of these card types as the game progresses. For now, let's select a champion. Again, a champion can only be selected from a hero. Minions cannot be selected as champions. In this case, I have Paladins of Judgment in my hand. A very powerful hero and champion, but in this case, I'm going to designate him as my champion and place him on the champion tile. Cards that are placed on the champion tile cannot leave the champion tile under any circumstances. There are certain spells and effects, powerful spells and effects in the game that may upgrade you to a different champion card. If this happens, this new upgrade is placed on top of your existing champion, and your previous champion is no longer onto the battle grid or no longer persists in the game. So, as I selected my champion and revealed my champion, my opponent can do the same right after me. Selecting Majestic, looking at their hand, they have a great combination of relics, spells, and heroes, and even some minions. In this case, I'm going to select Reality Manipulator as my champion. In the event during your first time around and you do not draw a champion, you may reveal your hand and mulligan down to one less card. While doing so, you must reveal your hand and showing your opponent that you do not have a hero card that's capable of being a champion. You may not mulligan just because you simply do not like your hand. As long as you have a legal hero to play as a legal champion, you may select that champion. From here, what can I do on my turn? Let's go into what we call the player phasing step. The player phasing step means what can I do during my player phase? There's two major options you could do during your player phase. One, play a support card. There are two different types of support cards in Battle Grid Trading Card Game. There are spells, which are supports cards that support your cards on the battle grid. Again, they come in with a spell effect and often leave. And then there's relics. Relics persist on the battle grid itself. Battle Grid is played on a 5x5 grid, as you can see here, and there's various awesome grid effects or tile effects that persist along the battle grid. Using these tile effects to your advantage help you ultimately gain victory over your opponent. So, what support spell can I play this turn? You can play one relic and one battle asset. What is a battle asset? A battle asset is anything that can enter into what we call the battle phase, or simply the attacking phase. Battle asset consists of a minion, a hero, and a challenger. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and play a minion. I'm going to play a relic first. Remember, you can play one relic on your turn. You may only place assets onto an adjacent asset you control. What is considered an adjacent asset? If you look on the battle grid, anything within attacking distance, either to your north, to your south, to your east, or to your west, of a legal asset that you already control. You may not play an asset diagonal, as a diagonal is not considered adjacent in Battle Grid Trading Card Game, because you cannot attack in a diagonal fashion. So in this case, I've played Heart of Valen on the grid tile above my champion. After playing my relic, I can now play a battle asset. In this case, I'll be playing Enlightened Prodigy, a hero, onto the boss tile. The boss tile is a really cool tile because it gives you a really cool buff onto your battle stats. The battle stats, if you look on the hero card, to the north, to the 12 o'clock is 3. We call this the attack. To the 3 o'clock, we call this the right flank. To the 6 o'clock, we call this the sneak attack. And to the 9 o'clock, we call this attack value your left flank. Battle stats are often read on card form from 12 clockwise to the 9 o'clock. Again, anything that's a place adjacent is either to your 9, to your 3, to your 6, and to the 9. These are all considered attacking areas. These are also considered adjacent areas. Now that I've played my battle asset, and now that I've played a relic this turn, only thing left is I can play spells. There's no legal target for spells right now, so I'm going to go ahead and pass my turn. Keep in mind at the beginning of your turn, you may play one champion ability. Now that it's Majestic's turn, let's look at the champion ability. At the beginning of your turn, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a spell, place it into your hand. Otherwise, freeze the revealed card. Let's review the top card of our deck. It is a spell. In this case, it is Frostfire Elixir. Frostfire Elixir is a really powerful but tricky spell because it does contain both plus values and minus values. Let's go ahead and put this in our hand. Now we may draw for the turn. Since Majestic went second, they do get the draw on their turn. Let's look at Majestic's hand. Again, Majestic can play during their player phase 1 relic and 1 battle asset. You can see that the Enlightened has a really interesting grid presence on the battle grid. They went straight up to an aggressive posture to the boss tile. They now have control of the center and has a really good playability in terms of where they could play their assets. It's probably a good idea for Majestic in this case to create a very good battle defense. Formation plays a very important role, and formation is basically what kind of card form can you use to defend your champion. Defending your champion is the most important part of the game, as each champion starts off with 3 life shards. Let's go ahead and put our life shards down. The point of playing Battle Grid trading card game is to defeat your opponent's champion and defeat their 3 total life shards. You may also lose the game by decking yourself out if you're unable to draw, or if there's certain various effects in the game that cause you to simply win the game. In this case, I'm going to play one of my support relics for the turn, which is Summoning Stones. When Summoning Stones comes onto the battle grid, let's read Summoning Stones. When Summoning Stone comes on the battle grid, search my deck for any minion and put it onto any grid location. It's important to note that Summoning Stones allows me to play on any grid location. So I don't have to play a minion simply adjacent to one of my battle assets or one of my assets. In this case, I'm going to reveal Monster's Creation, which is an epic minion. If you've purchased our alpha kit, it's important to note that Monster's Creation does say Epic Hero on it. This is a misprint, and new copies will be sent out soon. This is an epic minion card. I'm going to go ahead and play Monster's Creation on the defense grid. If you've noticed, to the top right and to the top left of both champion tiles are 2 defense grids. These defense grids mean that these 2 cards must be defeated in combat before you're able to engage in what we call gaining a champion or champion battle phase. We'll go over that in a second. For now, it's important for me to guard my champion by placing a minion on this defense tile. Placing a relic, and it fetching or placing another card and spell does not take up as my slot for a battle asset. I can still play a battle asset in this case. If there's any given moment in the game where I cannot play a battle asset, meaning a card frozen as a minion or in my hand as a hero, I may play what we call a challenger. A challenger is a card that is placed face down and it has base stats of 3, 3, 3, and 3. If you look at the back of our battle grid card, this represents a basic challenger card and the basic battle stats of 3, 3, 3, and 3. If you have sleeves on your battle grid deck, it's okay to place a card simply face down to represent a challenger. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and play my second hero or minion onto the +1 draw tile. Any card that occupies the +1 draw tile means that I get to draw a second card at the beginning of my draw step at the beginning of my turn. This is a great strategic move to help accelerate your assets and accelerate your resource gain. In this case, I'll be playing Unchained Skeleton, which is a common minion, onto the +1 draw tile. This is what we call a simple block defense. If your opponent is playing a very aggressive game down the middle of the boss tile, it is quick and important that you create a very strong defense to stop their progression. They're going to be trying to attack your hero as aggressively as possible, and you need to try to deny them that opportunity. Basically, at this point, we're going to end Majestic's turn, and we're going to go back to the Enlightened. So let's look over what we have one last time. We have two major points here. We have two major points here. We have the Enlightened going up the battle grid, down the boss tile, and we have Majestic forming a really strong defense over in the corner by taking their +1 draw tile. At the end of each player's turn, you'll notice various cards with fade counters. These fade counters only affect assets on the battle grid and does not affect your champion. These fade counters at the end of your turn, one fade counter must be removed. So we're going to go ahead and remove a fade counter at the end of Majestic's turn. So their Summoning Stones now goes from 2 fade counters to 1. When an asset does not have a fade counter, it is frozen to the frozen. You can see that I kind of did try to skip that step here on my Heart of Valen, so we're going to go ahead and put it down to 3. And then we're going to go ahead and take Majestic's first full turn, which they can draw. Let's read my champions of champion ability quickly. If an opponent controls the boss grid at the beginning of my turn, I can search my deck for an epic hero, reveal it, and place it into my hand. Seeing as I control the boss tile at this point, we do not take this effect. Now, let's look at my hand to see what other choice of moves I have. Keep in mind, I have a few opportunities in my hand here. We're going to go ahead and talk about the battle phasing. I have Reviving Angel in my hand, and I also have an Ice Shield Elixir. Ice Shield Elixir gets +3 to the 2 flanks, to the left flank and to the right flank. This makes it a great opportunity for me to try to take out Monster's Creation and gain my opponent's champion. Let's go ahead and play Reviving Angel and start attacking my opponent's Monster's Creation. Keep in mind that once Reviving Angel is on the battle grid, and the battle initiation is immediately created. We call this the battle phase. During the battle phase, the defending player gets to play first one boosting spell, followed by the offending player a second boosting spell, until 2 players or both players pass. Once both players pass, the battle phase instantly ends. What you cannot do during the battle phase is play more than one spell per opponent's per phasing opportunity. So, in this case, my opponent can choose to pass or play one boost spell to boost his opponent, to boost his defense hero or minion. So in this case, 5 versus 3, obviously 5 wins. My opponent is going to pass his boosting opportunity. When it comes to my boosting opportunity, I can play Ice Shield Elixir to give Reviving Angel +3. Now it becomes a 6 on both flanks. 6 immediately overcomes the 5, so my opponent now gets another opportunity to react. Checking their hand, seeing what their opportunity may have. My opponent decides to simply pass the turn. Since my opponent is past the turn and I am winning with 6, I'm going to go ahead and pass the turn, which ends the battle phase. 6 now beats the 5, meaning Monster's Creation is now frozen. Again, frozen is your discard pile, so Monster's Creation gets sent directly to the discard pile. Any spells and effects all resolve at the same time to help boost that minion or hero or challenger. Since everything resolves at the same time, all numbers are calculated and then they are exchanged. In this case, all spells after battle resolve, and now Ice Shield Elixir goes straight to the frozen. At this point, now that my opponent has no hero on the counter tile and no hero on the defense tiles, it is time to gain my opponent's champion. Gain simply means gain the advantage, meaning my minion is attacking my opponent's champion. During the gaining phase, 5 is compared to 3, and the offending player gets 1 opportunity to do a boost. Again, a boost is any spell that boosts a specific minion when targeted in the battle phase. In this case, I don't have any boosting spells, so I'm going to go ahead and pass my boosting opportunity. When you're boosting a champion cannot be boosted unless affected by a specific spell that says target a champion. In this case, 5 beats a 3, and my opponent loses a life shard. When a champion loses a life shard, everything that's adjacent to it is destroyed. including the opponent's hero, minion, or challenger. Anything on the battle grid is also destroyed. Both cards are sent immediately to the frozen to help reset the battle grid, so that way your opponent or the defending player can now try to gain the advantage again. This whole process rinses and repeats. The overall objective is to destroy your opponent's champion. There are many other rules in Battle Grid Trading Card Game, but this is kind of a quick and hasty overview on how to play the game and the sequence in which the game is played. There are lots of complex scenarios in Battle Grid Trading Card Games, including multi-battles, multi-defending your champion, and counter tiles, and other various tactics, tips, tricks, and strategies that make this game truly complex. For more on the basics of Battle Grid Trading Card Game or more of an in-depth synopsis, please check out our in-depth series. Also, check out Battle Grid Trading Card Games on specific cards and specific card type rulings. I hope you've enjoyed our quick overview on Battle Grid Trading Card Game. There's one last thing I just want to quickly mention. Again, thank you for purchasing our Battle Grid Trading Card Game deck. If you have not, please go out there, battletcg.com, and purchase. One last thing I forgot to mention, if a card does have a battle cost, for example, Valen Fallen Angel has a battle cost of freeze 3 legendary minions. That battle cost must be paid in full before hitting the battle grid. If the card cannot be paid, it simply goes back to your hand. Once the cost is paid, and freezing is basically a combination of any card in your hand and on the battle grid. So I can freeze 2 legendaries in my hand and 1 legendary on the battle grid. And freezing simply means sacrificing it to the frozen. A freezing effect usually means the player that's controlling it is usually targeting the player that's controlling it, unless otherwise specifically stated. So I hope this was the clear basics on how to play Battle Grid trading card games for you to understand. If you have any questions, please comment below. And until next time, keep playing.